Good evening. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the January 24th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. First on the agenda for a public hearing is 14 Nicole Way, 1065 Route 6.
Good evening.
Good evening. Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this?
Mr. Chairman, being there's no public comment, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Rich, is also a bond return here, correct?
Correct.
And favorable? You're-
Okay, all my comments have been addressed. The site's good. If anybody's
So we
driven
need a
by, you
motion
can
to
see it.
return- We need a motion to return the bond.
Okay.
No, don't we have
To go, to refer to the planning, town board.
Yeah.
Recommend, to the town board.
So I'll make a motion to refer the applicant to the town board.
Thank you. Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, so-
Interesting, when we started this process 6 months or so ago, when we had, there were neighbors out wanting to be heard, and I think you did such a wonderful job there.
Thank you.
Just by,
6 years.
how long's it been?
It's close to 7 years.
Wow. Well, you persevered and did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Just no one from the public here is testament to that, so thank you, nice job.
Thank you.
Joe, so the next step is that this is going to be referred to the town board. It gets presented at a work session there, and then it's a voting session afterwards to return the bond. So there's 2 more meetings with this. I don't know if it's going to get on the next work session. It should, and we'll go from there. Rose will take care of it the
And
next
then
couple
from
of
there,
days.
you guys notify the bond company, or do I?
You do.
You'll give the resolution to the bond company.
I'll give the
The
resolution to the
town
bond.
board will prepare a resolution and give you a copy of that, and then you can give it to the bond company.
Okay. Thank you.
Resolution will come the day after the voting meeting, so.
Okay. Thank you much.
Thanks, Joe. Next on the agenda is Pani Fabian, 112 Stillwater Road, also for a public hearing. Just one facing the camera, one facing us. Please. What's in the last one? This is also on the agenda for a public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to be heard? No. I don't believe there's any comments from the board, from the consultants. Pat, Mike, Rick?
All comments have been addressed.
Mr. Chairman, as there appears to be no public comment, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This was something that we challenged. We looked at the fill that was brought in. We verified that the fill was clean, and that was really our only issue, so we're good to go.
So,
Pat, would you prepare a resolution?
So Jack, your next step is going to be to remove those soils, so you just keep us in the loop on when you're doing any work over there, so if we get any phone calls, so that we're aware of it.
yes, do we get a resolution? I hear that?
For the next meeting.
Oh, okay,
So it'll happen at the beginning, the formality of adopting.
okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll notify you. Probably not gonna do it until the spring.
Okay. Thanks for cleaning that up, Jack.
Do something else. $1 million.
Oh, okay. Next on the agenda, also a public hearing on reduction, also G&F subdivision, Gateway Drive. Evening. I don't believe there's any comments. Rich, nothing, Pat, nothing, right?
Nothing.
Well, this is for a bond reduction, so it's not a bond return. So the original bond amount posted was 1.5 million and change. The applicant provided a breakdown of items that needed to be completed and that remain outstanding. Following work remains to be completed: paving course, guide rails, sidewalks, stormwater basin conversion, and landscaping. The department has no objection to the breakdown that was outlined by Insight. The work remaining totals about $320,000, which is about 20% of the original bond, and therefore the bond can be reduced to that amount.
So we'll be holding $320K for to complete the work. When's the work going to be completed? That work that Rich outlined?
So, just running through the various items, the top course, so the road's been paved to binder. The top course will be put in place later on once more of the development is done. They're getting ready to start work on Lot 6, Gateway Summit, and fairways will follow. So instead of having construction traffic run up and down that, top course will be later on. Landscaping, the timing was just wrong. We ran out of time at the end of the season. They'll probably do that next year. There's more utilities running up the side, so guide rail will go in after that. And let's see, what else is on here? And the final
Basic
stormwater
conversion.
basins don't get converted till later on.
Yep.
Right.
I went up there, some beautiful views from up there.
It's lovely.
Anyone from the public wish to be heard on this? Any comments, questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, being there's no public comment, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we need a motion for the reduction to the town board.
Yeah, okay. I'll make a motion to refer the applicant to the town board for reduction of the bond.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Dawn.
Okay. Thank you.
There's another public hearing on tonight's agenda. Carmel Terminal, 79 O Route 6.
Good evening.
No comments from Mike, Rich, and Pat, I don't believe. Anyone?
That's not true, Mr. Chairman.
I don't have.
I still have comments that needed to be addressed. Adam and the folks from Insight sent me some additional information today. I haven't had a chance to
okay.
review it, but it has to do with the stormwater prevention plan, water and wastewater report that we need to work on, stormwater maintenance agreements, any public improvements. That's going to be part of the resolution that needs to be out there. So there were just some minor comments. It's more good housekeeping for the project that needs to be just completed prior to this being, I guess, approved for resolution to move forward. Like this, we're here for a public hearing, but there are things that need to be addressed yet.
And Mr. Chairman, they responded to virtually all of my comments. There was one final piece, Adam, that needed some clarification, which was, if you remember at the last meeting, there was retaining wall or dike that's being added, that there's some excavation or grading necessary. So we just need to know how much, if that's cut or fill or what's going on. So we need a number to fill in.
Adam, are you aware of the comments that Rich just mentioned?
Yeah, so we responded to those comments. It was sent over to Rich today. I'm sure it was kind of last minute, so he hasn't had a chance to
Sorry, can you
review
speak
it.
a little louder?
Yep. So, yes, we responded to Rich's outstanding comments today. as he mentioned, it was today, so he hasn't had a chance to review it. And we're going to continue to coordinate with his office on the logistics of the abandonment of the sewer service and the reconfiguration of the water service. So that's all in the works, and we're going to continue to coordinate with Rich.
Right, the only other thing, Adam, and again, we could talk about it on this, when we meet, there's a 10-foot tall wall there. Is a post fence to be put up there? So
Yep.
I don't know what you sent today, so that was just.
Yeah, so in the plans today, it includes a fall protection fence.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll ask once again if anyone from the public wishes to be heard on this. Any questions or comments from the planning board?
Nothing. I'm good.
I think we've done a few turns to the crank here. As long as you can satisfy Rich's last few comments, I think we should be okay.
So remember, closing the public hearing starts at o'clock, so.
Right. That's why I was trying to, Rich said they're minor, right?
Keep the public hearing open?
Safer to keep it open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sort that.
Otherwise, we start all over again, and it slows them down. It's probably
I
best.
think we should be able to get this completed by the next meeting. It wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we can
So
put it on in 2 weeks.
So can we have Pat draft a negative declaration in anticipation of all these issues being
For the
addressed
next
by the
meeting.
next meeting? Yeah, for the next
If
meeting.
at the next meeting, you and Rich are satisfied, we
We'll
can
have
have
a
the
draft
resolution.
resolution.
Yeah, we can have a draft resolution ready to go. So you, in
Okay.
essence, you wouldn't lose any time, as long as you can. do
Okay,
your-
so we're going to leave the public hearing open, but we will prepare resolutions for the next meeting. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep, no problem.
Sounds good.
Performance
Sounds good.
bond amounts, that's what I'm going to ultimately need to give into that resolution.
Yeah, we'll get you an estimate. Yeah, the usual deal. Yep.
It won't
Thanks.
cost you any time, and we'll make sure we have a closed file on this.
That's fine. Very good.
Pat, and you'll have one ready to go if Rich is satisfied. Okay. Next on the agenda is Greco Route 6 LLC, 395 Route 6. Mike?
The applicant wants to add 2 contractor warehouses, 10,000 square feet and 3,240 square feet, to the rear of their property on Route 6 in Mahopac. There is currently a dog daycare and a 2-family dwelling that will be removed. Well, the dog daycare won't, the 2-family dwelling will. The new zoning code is allowing contractor yards and giving specific requirements for them. The current mixed use is being removed. Wholesale storage and distributive yards are permitted in the C commercial zone, and a variance is required from the side yard.
Mike, is that structure you're talking about that, I think you labeled it 2-family dwelling, is that what's kind of behind Freight Liquidators if you pull in?
Yeah,
Pull down the driveway.
Craig, I
I can
can
show you
show
where it
you.
is on.
You're pulling down the
So-
driveway, Freight Liquidators on the left, that's behind that?
Yeah, so there's Route 6. Bucks Hollow Road is down here. That's the dog daycare that Mike mentioned. And the building, the dwelling in question is right there. And that's to be removed.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Rich?
Yes.
Yes, so following up on Mike, construction of 2 warehouses, referrals to DEC, DOT, DEP, Putnam County DOH, Department of Highway, Town of Carmel Highway Department, and Mahopac Fire Department. Permits may be needed from the state for stormwater, DOT for work permit and traffic study, again, may be needed. Putnam County Department of Health for the water and sewer, and possibly a Putnam County Department of Highway Facilities work permit. The area, the disturbance is 38,000 square feet, so it's a stormwater pollution control plan that is for erosion and sediment control only. You will be needed to provide a stormwater maintenance agreement, any public improvements, performance bond, and associated engineering fee. Some detailed comments, vehicle movement plan should be provided, all turning radii should be given, site distances at each driveway, slopes of the entrances should be provided. If there's any work in the New York State DOT right-of-way, then you're gonna need those approvals. That's why I say you may or may not need DOT approval on this. It doesn't look like they're doing work up there, but just in case. Details on the well and septic system and fire protection must be provided. All plantings should be verified by the town of Carmel wetlands inspector and installed per section 142 of the code. Notes should be added to the drawing. A light spill plan should be provided. Some additional information regarding the elevations of the drainage system and hydraulic calculations should be provided. Details regarding the subsurface treatment system should be provided. A note should be added that all burials, all utilities be buried. There was a repeat there. Provide a construction sequence on the drawings, and the asphalt for the driveway should be 2 inches top layer, 3 inches binder, and subgrade 8 inches. That's what I got.
Thank you, Rich. And Pat?
So this is an interesting application. So you all know the site. It's the property that has the pools that sit right on Route 6. There's that large parking lot in the front and the dog daycare facilities way in the back. These two buildings would be behind that building, so virtually invisible from Route 6. Nevertheless, they will be visible from the trailway, which is right behind the property between Bucks Hollow Road. So while we're not so concerned about the typical thing we'd be concerned about, views from the roadway, the views in this case are from the trailway. There's a few things with respect to this. So this applicant owns the adjacent property, the freight liquidator site as well. Currently, they kind of share the common boundary, which is the access to sort of both sites. And if you look at the plan, Adam could point out to you, without that, there's not enough room to squeeze through the existing building to get to the back. So they need that adjacent property to provide access to the rear. So Adam could point out they're proposing an easement in the corner, which would give them that formal right of access. If you go back there, as I know.
Sorry to interrupt, Pat. I do want to make it clear that there is access to Bucks Hollow Road. But you're correct, if it were to, for some reason, need to be accessed from Route 6, there would be that
And that's the way the site's accessed now from
Does-
Route 6.
There's not, is it currently open for access to Bucks Hollow?
It isn't, right now, it's just.
Well, I'm sorry, you gotta state your name, speak into the microphone, introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Nick Krekel, one of the owners of the properties, along with my brother John behind us. Currently, we're in contract with Freight Liquidators. We're purchasing that after a discussion for a while, and we will be proposing to give us a permanent easement, so there'll be a complete ingress and egress on both ends of the property. The existing on Bucks Hollow Road, which crosses the bike trail, and Route 6, which will be between the existing dog place and Freight Liquidators as we know today. And that'll be a permanent easement that will deed to both properties, allowing that access and that easier flow of traffic in either direction.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
And that's critical, Mr. Chairman. We want to have that access both ways. So in just wandering behind the property, as you did this morning, Craig, there's a dumpster enclosure. I'm not sure where that is with respect to that easement. So if that's going to be used as an easement, it needs to be free and clear and unencumbered.
Of course.
So just need to clear that up, Adam. Rich mentioned the truck turning movement, so we need to see how vehicles are going to move through the site. The issue with these uses, they've been problematic for us in the past. So a contractor building where all the activity occurs inside the building is fine. Contractors that are sloppy and store stuff outside, that's problematic. The good news is, right now, the back of the property is real problematic. So cleaning it up is a significant advantage for us, but we need to clean it up with a use that remains a clean and tidy use. So everything has to happen in the buildings. If there is outdoor storage, you have to define it on the site. Where is it going to occur? We would enclose it and so forth. So the notion of how the site's used has to be clarified quite clearly, and our approval will, and right now it's kind of, is it a warehouse? Is it a contractor's yard? We don't have the contractor yard zoning yet. So our approval is going to have to be very clear in what these buildings are going to be used for. The issue I mentioned before is a significant issue, which is the visual impact of these buildings from the trailway. So right now, they've given us some elevations. It's a steel building. It's what a steel building you'd think would look like. I think there's two approaches to this. So right now, there's some landscaping along the property line, kind of raggedy, nothing significant. Either screen the heck out of it so the buildings are invisible and we really don't care what they look like, or make sure the buildings are really attractive buildings, so if you do see them from the trailway, it's not a visual issue. So right now, the elevations don't indicate a wonderful-looking building. It's kind of a typical industrial building. If they're going to be visible, we may want to, as your role as the architectural board, improve the appearance of those. Got plenty of parking. The dog use will stay there. The parking that's required for this is sufficient on the site. They've identified the parking spaces, so they've done a good job with respect to that. Rich mentioned too, things like lighting needs to be identified. Because it's behind that building in a sort of very enclosed area, is it a security issue? What security measures are you going to have? Will there be razor ribbon on the fences around the buildings to secure? All of those things need to be clarified. So it's all laid out in the memo, Adam, so go through it and give us the answers to those things. Interesting application, though.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
And who knew there were Greek statues along the front property? That's pretty cool.
So before, I asked the planning board to comment, maybe you can give us a little bit of an overview at this more, because you read the application, you go visit the site, and there's, like I said, there's a lot going on there. But you mentioned a 10,000 square foot building and a 3,240 square foot building.
Yep.
What are each gonna be used for, and the height of them? And, you know, Pat mentioned a few times the walking path behind the trailway behind there, but there's also, on the other side of the trailway, there's also homes on Bucks Hollow Road. So I think the screening, and Pat also mentioned, we played a role in the architectural review board. We're not looking for a warehouse to be a beautiful building, but we're looking for it to be a nice building.
Right.
So maybe you can take us through a little overview of the project, and we'll open up to the board.
Yeah, so at risk of being a little redundant, I would like to go through and just give kind of a quick summary. So it's a 4.8 acre site in the commercial zone. As was mentioned, it's between Route 6 and Bucks Hollow Road. There's currently that 12,000 square foot building that houses the dog daycare, boarding business, and the associated
I'm sorry, use
enclosure.
your microphone a little closer. Yeah.
And the 14,000 square foot enclosure, that's all going to remain. We clarified the two-family dwelling that's going to be removed in that location. And yes, so the applicant's seeking to construct the two buildings. One is a 10,000 square foot building. These are going to be used for contractor offices and storage. So they're going to be contractor units with overhead doors. You can see the breakdown here in the elevation of, you know, where the units are going to line out. You know, you're going to have units kind of subdivided internal. You'll have a man door, some windows, and an overhead door. Before getting into the architecture, just to go back to the
When you say contractor storage, sorry to interrupt you, you mean the trucks will pull into the building, or the trucks will be outside of the building?
some trucks may be outside. Some of them will be internal.
And what about materials? Gravel, sand, dirt, wood chips, trees?
Yeah. So
Good evening again. So the concept of this is to rent, there's a high demand in the area for instance, a plumbing contractor, an electrical contractor, a woodworking contractor. We're not looking to do piles of gravel and sand and and with all due respect, what is across the street. The building design is very similar to what's behind us, what's across from us, and I think we've proven ourselves as well. Everything that we do, we're always doing something a step ahead and always want to beautify the area for the community. That's without a doubt, especially being on the bike trail. Right now, we were to the point of renting it as space just to help pay the taxes and expenses to maintain this property. Now, and then the post-COVID world, we're back on our feet to say, hey, listen, let's clean this area up. Let's put these two buildings up. They're going to, the 10,000 square foot will harbor 5 individual, what you call like a contractor condominium, each one their own individual meters. Contractors, again, such as electricians and plumbers and people who just need a workspace where they can park their vehicles indoors and have the second floor would be like a half of a loft. So the average space per unit, if I'm not mistaken, is 40 wide and 50 deep, creating a 2,000 square foot footprint, and a loft of creating an additional 1,500 square foot within the same space with a half a bath per unit. So again, we just want to clean it up with as less disturbance as possible. It's all pre-existing millings on the floor, and we'll do all new blacktop, screen the bike trail, put slots into the fence, and just clean it up for the Bucks Hollow pedestrians and those that use the bike trail on it every day. Like Mr. Cleary said, it's really not visible from the Route 6 area, mainly from the Bucks Hollow area, but it'll be no different than what is existing around us as we speak today. And yes, I think we've addressed the lighting factor where we're going to put, high LED lighting to create a very well illuminated avenue during the nighttime, and just clean up the property in general and get rid of what is there now, the containers and so forth. The 3,400 square foot building, that too will have the same concept, but my brother and I are keeping that 3,400 square foot building with the one garage door for ourselves. We do our own maintenance and construction between the villa and all the other properties that we have in town. So all our skid steers and so forth, we're just going to keep indoors just to prolong longevity of our equipment and for our own indoor use and tools and so forth.
Okay, okay. No,
Thank you.
No residential units in the
No, sir.
loft or anything? No?
No, sir.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification.
Office space in each of the units?
Excuse me?
There'll be office space in each of the units as well?
Well, each of the units will be the 2,000 square foot footprint, and they can build out a small office. Again, each unit will house a half bath, creating individual units for that contractor where, yes, there might be a secretary there for the day. So there'll be the half bath and a 1,500 square foot loft if they choose to build out the loft. But we're going in saying, here's the 2,000 square foot footprint. Here's your office. It has a garage door, it has an entry door, has a few windows, and has a half bath. How they choose to use it, but it's mainly for instance, if a contractor has 2 vans, they'll park indoors at night. They'll have 2 to 3 spaces outdoors for their daily visitors or so forth. But mainly just that kind of a concept, and not like a yard where we're housing, outdoor gravel or sand. That we're not in it for that. That's the concept.
And they're actually getting rid of a dwelling unit, therefore getting rid of the mixed use on the site, so it's actually becoming more conforming, which is good.
So this is just for storage, right? No work gets done in there? I know you mentioned workshop, but you don't mean that any work, like carpenters are going to be doing their work in there? Is that something-
I don't know what they're doing. If they're renting the spot,
They
if there's a
can do that.
woodworker and they're working indoors within their location, it's in their
They could do that.
footprint,
And
depending on who
Vicky,
rents it.
That's why I said earlier,
Yeah.
that all has to be clarified, because
Yeah.
each one of that's now manufacturing or fabrication use,
Yeah.
that's different from warehouse use,
Yeah.
different from an office use, so all that has to be clarified and documented, so we know what we're approving and can
Right.
enforce the use of the property in the future.
Because at first it just sounded like storage, but now it could be something different, so. okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
What controls will there be about waste disposal, understanding that, plumbers come with liquid waste, other contractors may come with other waste? What control will there be about that?
Well, sanitation-wise, if I'm understanding you correctly?
Well, dumping is what I'm concerned.
So we probably
Somebody
have a-
pours, something down the drain.
Well, no, nothing to that expect. Like, we're not going to put an auto body shop or a mechanic shop or anything like that whatsoever.
Well, plumbers, look, whatever you've got, how do we know that there's not going to be problematic waste disposal? Let me put it that
I
way.
guess it goes back to Pat's question too, is we need to know what's going on inside the buildings, right?
But it doesn't sound like it's going to be defined as to what particular businesses are going to be inside. It's going to be, I think you said it yourself, you're going to rent it out to a contractor and
Yeah,
he'll use it the way he sees fit.
With our next submission, we'll include a use table on the site plan, and we'll break down employees, the types of businesses that we're proposing, and get into some of that detail, and we'll provide that on the plan with our next submission.
And then one other question, unrelated. Is there a plan for the businesses that are there during construction? Are they going to continue, or, like the dog place, the freight liquidators?
Well, freight liquidators is another parcel.
Use the
Okay.
microphone, I'm sorry, there's one right there too.
So the freight liquidators, that's another parcel with another deed, has nothing to do with this project.
Okay.
The dog place will continue to harbor the old D'Agostino nursery, let's first say, building. And then in the back, like I said, these contractors, again, we're very careful in who we rent to as well.
I'm asking a different question. During the construction phase, will, for example, the dog place be shut
Yeah,
down?
so the only disruption in the existing site that'll happen during construction will be the enclosure, the play enclosure that they have during the construction of the septic. Otherwise, I believe everything should be able to continue operating seamlessly.
Correct. During the final stage of construction for the septic approval area, that falls in the bounds of the existing fence that they have an outdoor dog park. So I will work with my tenants at that point to temporarily bring everything to par according to the blueprints and the drawings, and then resume back, because that'll all remain grass area and forever, like a green area.
Right, so once the construction's complete, the fence will go back up, and then it'll be turned back over to the town.
Exactly.
I have a couple of questions I'll pepper you with. The first one is, what's the height of the proposed new buildings?
Well, according to, or based on the definition in the code, I believe we go to half the height to the peak, and we've got that on the larger of the two buildings at, I think it was 33.
It's equivalent to what's existing.
33.6.
33.6?
33.6 to the town
All right.
definition, yes.
What's the height of the existing building?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head, but
Because
we
I'm
can
just
get you that.
wondering if we're going to see the new building, I mean, we're already higher up in elevation on Route 6. You're going down, so I was just curious about that.
It's an interesting question, right? That building has those weird arches on it,
Yeah.
so it may block the building? No?
I'm just
Good,
curious.
good information to have.
Yeah.
We can get
Next
you that.
question. I assume that the bigger one, the doors and the garages, they're going to be facing Bucks Hollow?
Correct.
Okay. When you rent this property out, are you going to be using, do you intend to use the ingress and egress from Bucks Hollow, or do you expect the contractors to drive from Route 6 and around?
Well, the concept is to use the Bucks Hollow more than the Route 6, but the ingress and egress will be available by easement in both ends, so,
Right, no, I get that.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because your building is really on the side, and the point that you're gonna get the easement for really benefits you guys. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying, you know, and I was wondering if you're gonna have your tenants come in through Bucks Hollow or go around.
The intention is from Bucks Hollow.
Okay.
that's the main intention.
And then, so I notice on the plan that there's a proposed concrete washout area?
That's just for the, that's in the erosion control plan. So
Okay,
that's
so
during
that's-
construction, that goes away,
All right,
yeah.
goes away. Just wanted to ask about that. All right, thank you.
When it comes to the Bucks Hollow entrance, how much traffic do you expect this to generate? How much traffic are you going to be having crossing the bike path and into these neighborhoods on the other side?
I don't think it would change any much more than it is existing, because we have a few rentals there as it exists. This is more like you come in the morning, like, when I say contract, that's a wide definition. What we're trying to say is more like, you know, someone who owns a company that's coming in, come in the morning, take their trucks, go out on the job site, go to work, and then come back at 5 o'clock and call it a day.
It's not steady in and out
It's not
during
a
the
steady
day.
in and out retail type of a concept.
And like I mentioned before, sorry, we'll include a use table, and that'll include an anticipated number of, truck trips. in
That'd be
and out.
helpful, because
Yeah.
I believe, to Nick's point, I believe you literally cross over the bike path on Bucks Hollow to get in that back, which obviously has
That's right.
some concerns.
Correct,
Crossing
and
over
that whole road is actually deeded with the property, and the deed of that property we gave years ago was given an easement to the town, I guess, for the Bucks Hollow Fire Department to use that road, but that road is actually part of our property, and that easement continues to run for that reason.
Bike path, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that means, that's a town road or a county?
No, it's a private road.
No, Bucks Hollow.
Town road.
Town road. So you're gonna need permits from highway with that, right?
The
Because-
access already there.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
already
it's already
existing.
there.
It's
The
approved?
improvements would be internal to the
Been
site.
there for
Yeah.
a long time.
So then again, going back to the safety issue Nick brings up, you probably have to put additional signage in there so that the contractors who are using it will know how to stop, how to enter any, and.
We can look at if we want to put in some stop measures or, signs or anything like that. We'll take a closer look at that.
Yeah, I think you should be doing that just to address some of those issues.
Sure.
So, I'll just make a few statements more than comments. The pools and statues, are they, what's the purpose of the pools there? Do you sell any pools there? I mean, I think they were back from the Agostino
That is correct. That was a variance that was approved back in the day with Kenny Laurel and D'Agostino's from, I guess, I don't know if it was this board or the zoning board, that they have the right to display those pools. He pays us a rent to use that property, and I rented him the whole front grass area, pasture area, lawn area there on Route 6. That was pre-us owning it, and we just continued.
So he still actively pays to advertise those pools?
He pays to rent the property. And the zoning had passed and gave them permission and so
It
forth
just,
many, many years ago.
I'm looking at this whole site now, and I'm saying, I believe if we together do this right, we could have a much nicer looking property than what it looks like today. And I'm not sure the pools are a great entrance to your business there. So look, if those pools weren't needed in the future, if I think we could do a nice job with the entranceway. In the back, there's a lot of dumpsters, maybe a dozen, 15 different metal dumpsters, Taconic,
Correct.
carting and dumping. Will they remain?
No, they won't.
Please introduce yourself.
How you doing? My name is John Frenkel, co-owner with my brother Nicky Frenkel.
Yep.
So behind the location, you have 40 dumpsters.
Yep.
You have junkyard. You have cars. We want to remove all of that. We want to put 2 beautiful buildings like we've done to 20 other properties in town. Aesthetically, we want to make it look amazing. If you drive by that area right now, to the left, in front, all over, there's got to be over, no exaggeration, 10 buildings exactly like we're proposing, but they look a little old. We want to make it beautiful, nice, lights, signs. So there's nothing more than the area has already. There's a big need for businesses like landscapers that have trucks with whatever, all the equipment, that they're not allowed to park in residential driveways, but they do. They're getting fines. People are coming to us complaining. So this is really the purpose of these garages. There's a big demand. There's a lot of them all over town. I think there's 3 big developments, not to like name who they are, but they're all fully rented. And these businesses are coming to us with hardship saying, listen, we need a place to park this stuff. This is the reason this all came out. Otherwise, we would have just left it the way it was, collect our same money that we're collecting now, and we wouldn't even be in front of you tonight. So I really want to explain that not only are you helping local businesses, but you are helping the area. Because right now, it's not to our preference to look at something like this. It's a disaster. And we had meetings with certain people in town, and everybody agrees, obviously we need your permission, that it needs to be fixed up and addressed. So coming out of COVID now, we have a couple of dollars saved up. This was the plan, to fix up the property and aesthetically make it nice.
I believe the board, I certainly am in full agreement with you. That's why I said we have an opportunity here. I've gone down that bike path many, many times. None of it looks good. None of it looks good from in town to out of town. The whole bike path, very industrial, but not only industrial, very sloppy in the backyard, very sloppy. This is an opportunity. When we get done with this project, this should be the nicest looking, you have 2 front yards. This should be the nicest looking front yard to the bike path that we have in town. Just like you're saying, I think we have a good opportunity.
I agree. So, but the front of the yard, I mean, these tenants pay big money. So, you know, we really want to work on something in the back right now, and then we want to come back to you in the future and work out something where the pool place is aesthetically nicer from Route 6 that would benefit the entire town as well as us. But we're taking it piece by piece right now and just working with the back, because that's all we know what we could afford to do. It is a junkyard. I agree. We will turn it around in 3 months, given the permission.
So just on the frontage on Bucks Hollow, I do want to point out, so as you're going through there, you've probably seen it. There is a hedgerow that kind of runs along. There's a fence and there's a hedgerow, and that hedgerow is got some bald spots in it. It's got some missing things. So the intention is to fill that in and to complete the screening along the bike path there. Because at that point, if you're walking down the bike path and you've got a fully developed hedge along that, you're not going to see it from the bike path. So that is part of the, part of the plan, and I think it's been labeled on the plan. We're gonna infill that existing hedge. There's parts of it that are completely filled in and fine, and you wouldn't see through it, but there's definitely some patches that I think you're talking about that we would look to fill in as part of the screening for the project.
You can tell some of it was intentionally planted. It's not just one piece that's left behind the fence. There was some intention to some of the landscaping, but it's not used the right way. There's some bald spots.
Yeah.
Just one other question. I think you made a couple comments about lighting. Is there any concern about lighting spilling over to the neighborhood?
We're going to provide a light spill plan,
Okay.
but the lights that we'll be using will be, I believe, all building-mounted lights, so they'll be there to provide security and just to illuminate the area directly around the buildings themselves. I think the intention is going to be that they will run on a photocell during operating hours, and then after hours, they'll just run on motion sensors for security purposes. And through the lighting analysis that we'll make sure that there's no light spill off the property.
Other questions from the board? Any other questions from the consultants?
No, this is a very interesting project and a good thing. I'm very pleased to see the junk in the back being removed.
Yeah, I think this can be a win-win, right?
Solid waste, there's 15 dumpsters in the back. It's no problem.
There's 40, and it'll be 50 if we don't clean it up.
So someone make a motion to declare us as a lead agency?
I'll make a motion to declare us lead agency.
All in favor? Aye. There's a lot of comments to go through. Pat alone had almost 5 pages, so we'll keep churning through this and eliminating them and progressing the application.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Exciting project.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is TTSHR LLC 25 and 27 Seminary Hill Road. Mike?
Yeah, it's basically my same comment as last time. The parking calculation was put on there. I went over it with Jack, and there are 6 variances, 6 variances required from the zoning board.
Thank you. Rich?
Applicant did contact New York City DEP. There's no additional review needed by them. Just the establishment of performance bond, associated engineering fee, and a stormwater maintenance bond that may be required. Applicant has noted those comments.
And Pat?
So we originally had some questions about things like traffic and sewer and water. All of those issues have been addressed. Lighting plan's been provided. So there are no really outstanding issues with respect to any of the planning issues. And you know the site, it's not a problematic site. It's just the use is problematic. So as Mike indicated, this is all about the variances. We've cleared the hurdle of all the technical site plan related issues. So I think it's time for them to go over to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, thanks, Pat. So this, right now, as it stands, is much more of a zoning board issue than planning board. However, that being said, isn't this an opportunity to clean up this property? This property's been expanded way beyond its means, right? I think it was a 1 unit building to 4, or 1 building unit to 7, or in a funny way, it fits in that community, because there's a lot of.
It's not an unattractive site.
No.
And that whole area is just like that.
What's that, Mike?
The whole area is multifamily,
Yeah.
mixed,
It
that
kind of
whole,
fits in, it's hidden back in the
Yep.
driveway there.
better
It
that
has
than
a
the
lot of
Pasta
open
del
space.
Mundo that was there before.
I'm sorry, Mike?
Better this than the Pasta del Mundo,
Ah,
which made great pasta, but it's still a resident, it's not the use that's proper for there.
yes. Anthony?
I'm just saying, it still maintains quite a bit of open space, which I think you want.
So while it's not required, we asked them to give us the calculations if it were, and it's 4 times what would be required if it were required.
To me, that's a positive when we're looking at projects like this.
So Mike and Rich, how does the process work that as this is going along, that everything gets brought to fire code and safety code, and how do we make sure we're involved in that this building's safer.
Involved in that. You'll, once you get approval, once they get approval, they'll apply for building permit, then we take over and make sure everything goes up to a code. It won't be today's code, but it will be a code that's going to be required to be in there.
But Mike, you indicated they do their annual fire inspection?
Yes.
Yeah.
Joe has been doing fire.
Because this,
I think that's how it came up last time.
this should be a plus for the town. You know, there was a fire in Mahopac this morning, right? I mean, this is the pretty close quarters around there, so we want to bring this all up to safety code and fire code and all the codes.
And the new owner seemed like he did care about the code, so that's a good thing, too.
Okay. I think so, yeah. I think it needs to go to the ZBA. Sure.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to refer this to the ZBA.
Second?
Rich, are you ready for this? Right? For to go to ZBA?
I'm ready for it, baby. No, it has nothing to do with engineering. It's
Right.
more of a building department.
I'm sorry.
Do we have a second?
I say.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you very much.
It's much more of a zoning board issue for us right now, and I'd like to see old homes like this brought up to compliance.
What's that?
It's got to stamp it.
First day?
Jack, is this your first job here ever?
And the owner did indicate that he's going to repaint
That'll help out a lot there, because the buildings are nice. A little paint on it would make it nice.
No, just this one for Rose. No, give it to Rose, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Jack. The next item on the agenda was removed from tonight, 585 Union Valley Road.
Mr. Chairman, I
that's
just have a comment on that. Sorry, Mike, say, go ahead.
No, I just said that one's off.
Yeah. I was at an adjacent site there earlier today. There was a lot of noise coming off of that 585 Union Valley Road. I just wanted to make the board aware of that.
Noise from the
As
trucks
in
out
tree
there?
cutting, as in trucks being dumped out, as in a lot of noise. So,
I was out there also today, and we'll save it for the next meeting, but I think it's going to be a lengthy discussion about that property. There's a landscape.
Operation going on at the property, so they're not just parking there.
yeah, so. Yeah, no, I wouldn't know if it was a violation because I didn't have a decibel meter to answer your question. Well, no, but you hear it when you're standing there with no leaves. It's wintertime. You do hear it. There's kind of a valley in the area. There's a bit of an echo in there. So it is what it is. It's just the way noise is.
Well, we might see them on the next agenda. There's also, last on the agenda is Dupas, 441 Route 6, waiver of site plan application. Mike, I believe you had a little comment on this.
I did. I don't have my memo with me, but I pretty much remember it. They're not really doing anything that's going to change the use. What they're doing is putting a roof and a facade over the top of the sidewalk that goes along the front of it. A variance is required from the ZBA for front yard. So if they can get denied for the variance, then I have no objection to the granting of the, what do they call it? Waiver of site plan, yes.
And Rich?
No more comments. Has nothing to do with the engineering department.
And Pat?
No issues from a site planning perspective at all. As Mike said, they need the variance.
Gonna dress it up pretty nice.
Yeah, it's just a little overhang, right?
It looks nice, too.
Someone make a motion to deny to the ZBA, please?
I'll make a motion to deny it to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It should be a nice little improvement.
You need to get that drawing stamped.
Yes. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
No minutes. No minutes.
We don't have any minutes.
No minute.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
meeting, thank you.